Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of Intuitive Idiots. I messaged Andre yesterday and asked him to rank the past 10 years of his life on a scale from 1 through 10. Each year gets a respective ranking. And it's completely subjective. Like, whatever you think those years were for you, if that year was great, you give it a 10. I mean, that's like the best year ever, you give it a 10. If it sucked, you give it a 1. Measure them out in between. In response, I got a paragraph about each year except 2019, which I guess didn't happen,
Yeah, I don't remember.
and no rankings.
I can't rank it because I kept saying, I was like, am I ranking it in retrospect or in the time? That's what I was having a really hard time with.
It was in the past, so it's got to be a retrospect.
Okay, so that changes things. But then here's the problem. I would give all those years a good rating because even though some of them were absolutely terrible, I was like, yeah, but what I learned and it was very positive.
So you could rank them from 5 to 10 or 6 to 10. As long as it's relative, that's the main goal of this exercise. So I've done this exercise. I call it chart your life.
All right, I can do it real quick then.
They usually use an exclamation point, so it's chart your life. Uh, and I used it with teaching. The kids really enjoyed it, um, but I would break everything down step by step. So the first thing I'd tell them to do is take a sheet of paper and write down the numbers 1 through 12 in the margin. Wouldn't tell them anything until the next step. After the first step, I'd tell them each of those numbers represents your grade in school. So first grade, second grade, third grade, so on and so forth. Rank each one of those years 1 through 10. And then I wouldn't tell them anything until they're all done ranking. I would tell them too, if they can't remember, just put a 5, because it's not a 1, it's not a 10, just it's,
It's meh.
null. Yeah. And then at the very end, have them split up into groups, and I'd send them a template on Microsoft Word for a graph, like a line graph.
Uh-huh.
And you would plot out your graph. I give them, a poster paper and markers and rulers. They liked drawing anything, and especially graphing. They really enjoyed graphing things. So they take the numerical values and graph out their chart. And it was while we were studying the story arc as well as self-reflection. So it really tied into both.
Okay.
And the whole point is, you end up getting something that, I sent you mine, right?
Uh-huh. On the screen now, I imagine.
Yeah. So you can see the peaks and valleys, and you eventually have a series of different story arcs
Yeah.
over time. And you can kind of see the pattern that your life goes in. And like every 2 years I have like this climax, and then I fall into despair, and then climax another 2 years. So you can almost predict the future of your life. Now the rate can alter. Usually, as you get older, it gets slower,
Mm-hmm.
but you're able to see kind of what's going on with your life. So I thought it was a neat tool for like self-examination.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it doesn't just stop there.
No.
It's it's funny. The other day, I went to bed, and before I go to bed, I ask. Sometimes I'll ask Spirit or God or my guides, the ether. I'll ask it a question
Yeah.
and say like, "Hey, let me get some ideas for this, or what should I do about that?" So what should I cover on the podcast this week? So I go to drift off, and I can't get to sleep. And Amy can't get to sleep, and then I finally get to sleep a little bit. I'm drifting off, and the freaking cats start fighting on the bed, and then I'm up.
Yeah.
So I go out to the couch, and I'm sitting there, and I watched this video of this guy, Joseph Rodriguez, and he brought up this other chart, which I sent you. What was it
Emotional
called?
cycle of change.
Yes. Emotional Cycle of Change chart by Don Kelly and Daryl Connor
Irish.
from the 1970s. And he was talking about how a lot of people will make it to stage 3 and then just quit and start over. So
Yeah.
stage 1, everything's great. You know, it's all relationships. You see this a lot too.
Yeah, I get you.
Get into it, honeymoon phase, right? The uninformed optimism.
Mm.
Then things start to get real, form pessimism, and then it sucks. All right, I'm out. And I think we've all done that with either with relationships or with interests, friends. But when you stick around, then it's like, okay, you get to informed optimism, success, and fulfillment. Ultimately, you can't avoid that dip.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
It's like in the story arc, you can't get to the climax without having the exposition,
Yeah.
rising action. A problem has to happen. There has to be a motivation, a purpose. I just thought it was interesting because that's the inverse of the story arc.
Yeah, and you know what? So I actually did rate mine, and just looking at this, I got 3 major dips. You know, first it starts with a bad dip. I'm at 1. I'm at ground zero. I go up the next year to 6. I go back down to 2. I go up to 8, then to 9. Then I fall down to 3, and then it's a slow climb from 6, 7, 8, and 9 the years going forward. So just looking at it at this point of view, yeah, I can see what you mean. Like it's like when you fall down, it's really hard to get back up. And I can totally tell. And I know we're going to get into it a lot more about what that entails and all that. But it is interesting when you say it like that. And I'm looking at this emotional cycle of change here that I imagine is on the screen again. You can kind of see how it labels that stage 3 as the valley of despair. And that makes complete sense, man. When you're in it, when you're in that point of your own personal life,
Pit
man,
of despair.
it is. I mean, it's like, how the hell can you get out of that? In that time, it does feel like it's unfathomable. Like I'm stuck forever, you know?
Quicker. Hey, stop. This is like the bonus room for the cats, so whenever I open it up, especially Squeaker, she's having a blast.
I always
Um,
have my door shut because if I don't have my door shut, they'll be on this laptop ruining everything.
I just, yeah, I'm gonna do that. No, come on, come on, come back later.
But I want to hang out.
Okay. So I'm on the couch looking at that graph and looking at my life and how many times I've done that and quit or done that and stuck it out and how I made it through. And essentially, in the video, the Joseph Rodriguez video, he's just saying as long as you're aware of it, you're not going to take it as seriously. You're not going to take it personally.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma used to say, "This too shall pass."
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a simple thing. It's real easy to do, but it
Yeah.
makes it a lot better and has you focus on just the now and what you're doing.
Yeah.
But so that leads us to our question of the day.
Oh, okay.
Do we have free will?
Oh, man. So I can totally understand in conjunction with what we're talking about here when we're looking at the story arc of like a, let's use the word archetypal, the archetypal story, the rise, the fall, and the rise again. I can grasp the concept here and how we're matching it to this Connor and Kelly idea of the emotional cycle of change, right? How we can kind of see human beings going through this. So in some sense, I could start to see a pattern of determinism, excuse me. I can see that there could be a pattern in here. I will not argue that. As I look at my own life, I look at the rising and the falling. If I were to say, obviously right now in retrospect, I would say yes, there's a sense of free will, but I have to caveat that because I think that's a very limiting word, free will. As in, it invokes, it's just a common, like if I say free will, what it invokes limits it, is what I will say.
Yeah,
Because there is another sense where I kind of believe in determination as well. But I'm going to stick with the
oh yeah,
argument that yes, I believe that there is free will. That will be my argument.
exactly. Because I want to have a sip of coffee. Guess what?
Uh huh.
Bam, free will.
I
Myth
want
busted. All right.
See you guys.
Yep. Till next week. Uh, was I going to drink that coffee anyway?
Maybe, maybe not. I have a coffee right here. I haven't drank it. But I see what you're saying. It's like, okay, so from your point of view, tell me how you understand this to work, and I'll see where you're coming from.
Like, do you want 1,000 feet up? Do you want 10,000 feet up?
Whatever is, we can start easy, then we'll kind of start leaning into it more and more.
Okay. I think I only can only really tell you from like 10,000 feet up. So
Go for it, man.
let's start from there and then zoom in.
Yeah, we'll work our way down.
We're all players in the big Sims video game. Everybody has a certain level. I don't think there's like a number to it. Like you can't really quantify it, but certain things that you have to learn in order to like get the joke of
Mhm.
consciousness. And I think it revolves around the seven deadly sins or something similar, right? So like once you conquer greed, like you don't really care about money that much anymore. You're not greedy. Jealousy, you're not like you root for people to do well no matter what, right? So like you conquer that. Lust, there's a beautiful woman that passes you in the store, and you don't have to,
Yeah,
you know, do one of those.
very
You
nice.
just smile at her, and you see her for like her soul instead of, the piece of meat.
Oh man, yeah.
So on and so forth, right? And you conquer all that, and then you get to like the point when you're done, and you don't have to come back to this realm anymore
Ah,
when you die.
so you feel like it's determined by this. It almost, I could use the word like a schooling or a learning
Yeah,
process. It's determined by some higher being deciding whether you need to fit into the next realm. And so going into said next realm, we have to go through this rising and falling to better oneself. And if we do not better oneself, we're going to go back again, with I know this is a very loaded word, but reincarnation. Is that
yeah,
kind of how you're saying it?
yep.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, again, reincarnation. There's so many implications when you say
Yeah, I
that,
know that all these words have a lot of
connotations.
implications. Oh, I know.
But yeah, essentially, it's like an algorithm, and you have to go and do this thing and do the story arc over and over and over again until you get the seven things. Till you get, it's like a video. You get the seven like rings,
Yeah.
and then you have to like beat the final boss, and the final boss is like the trick at death or something, and boom, and then it's like okay, I don't have to go back to 3D anymore unless it's to help other people go through that process.
So it sounds like it is determinization, but at the same time, there's a little kind of wiggle of free will in there, as in you can choose to fucking say, I don't want to, and fail and fall off and then come back again. So, in some sense, as I'm understanding it, and I could be very well wrong, I'm interpreting that as saying free will. If one does the free will outside of what's determined, it's like a negative act because you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and therefore you will be negatively impacted for what you decide to do against something that was designed for you. As in, playing a video game, you have your character that's supposed to accomplish these quests, these missions, and you start to say, I don't really feel like accomplishing those at all. The game will not end. Is that kind of correct, or am I missing the point?
More or less.
Okay. What about like anomalies? What about things that are unexplainable? I can give an example if you need one. Um, my wife loves playing The Sims. She plays it all the time. I watch her
Hmm.
play The Sims. So that's why this makes a lot of sense to me, and I have a lot of perspective on it. I get to watch a creator create. It's kind of cool. So In The Sims, she always creates these characters, and there's a lot of these fun things going on. She makes an objective, like, I want this guy to be a fucking vampire piece of shit, having sex with every woman he can find and shit, right? And you watch it play out, but inside of that, she has an arc for this character, and I just named one to be kind of fucked up. It's mostly to be funny. This vampire dude was banging a bunch of women and getting a bunch of chicks pregnant in The Sims, and he was a piece of shit. He didn't have a job, but he had a roommate. And his roommate, I don't remember his name, but she didn't plan this roommate. He was just kind of there, witnessing it happen, living with him. He was kind of an apathetic loser. He never got any women in the game. She didn't control him. He controlled himself. Here's what's interesting. And that vampire dude was a drunk, and he actually died on the skyrise, like on the top of a skyscraper, because he walked to the sun. He was so drunk he fell, and he ended up dying because the sunlight killed him. And he left behind all these pregnant women. And one of the pregnant women's kids got taken away because she wouldn't take care of it. The other two, this roommate took into his own power the ability to adopt these kids and take care of them, and then they kind of turned out to be little douchey kids, and the playthrough ended, and she's like, okay, whatever. She went away. She kind of lost interest, right? It's kind of how I imagine this works. Well, all of a sudden, she was in a new playthrough, and she had this other character. I can't remember the specifics, but this character owned a grocery store, and they were trying to hire people, and in walks that dude, and he's an old man now. He's this kind of, I wish I could remember his name to tell the story, but he walked in the room and she hired him, and it turned out like he just kind of lived there. He'd come home, take care of those adult boys that never got jobs, and he just did that till he died. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is my wife, let's say in this role was God, was determining this guy's path, this vampire dude. She did not control the friend and how he reacted to it all and what his outcome was going to be. Now, she made a decision of maybe having him take care of those kids, but everything subsequently afterward, because if you ever play The Sims, sometimes they kind of go off and do their own thing. Like, you want them to do this stuff, and sometimes they just won't do it. They just don't really feel like it. And so this kind of does play in some sense of what you're saying, but at the same time, as I think about that other character, I think, here's someone who did something that made us go, oh my God, did you see what he did? That was almost more amazing than the controlled character that we made. And what I'm getting at is, sometimes I wonder if there is this design path from these higher beings, this higher being, and some of us kind of deviate a little bit, and they're just like, yeah, you could deviate and fail, but look at this guy. I kind of like what he's doing here. Let's keep an eye on him. And this aspect kind of paints itself throughout mythology as well, where we say, look at the way that we could say Athena, looking over Odysseus. We could say that she had a vested interest in his behaviors. But her vested interests were much more in line with her letting him be the deciding factor of his own life, because this is a very 19th and 20th century interpretation, I understand. But Odysseus kind of resembles one that goes against the will of the gods. He decides that he is his own god, in a sense, because he's the one making these decisions. Yet Athena still had her hopes in him, and she tried to guide him along the way, but it was up to his own being to determine his own outcome. I give you the story of your life, but I put it in your hands. And so I can understand on one level determinization. A higher being says, here's your story, Mike. This is what you're going to do. And you're like, okay, like, I'll try. But the times that you say, I don't want to go this way, I'm going to go that way, you never know what you could uncover. And for me, that is a small glimmer of where free will plays in part. Like, the negative side of free will can be, you could veer off of the path you're designed to be on and fuck up. But I think there's a positive side that says, whoa, you veered off, but you've done something that was like, made the creator go like, wow, I got some interested in this shit. What's he going to do now? And the reason I bring this up on a higher level was you mentioned in, golly, I don't remember if it was the last video or episode 1, where you said how God has this idea of you made the reference of Lucy with the pies,
Mhm.
and there's things that people are meant to do, and you kind of made a reference in a sense of maybe God kind of puts these things in here to see how people handle them more so than a lesson. And I think there are certain people that could have the lesson, but I also think of like, what's he going to do if I throw this at him? Because what if there, as we believe throughout our religious history, from now going all the way back, the gods test us and test our will to see if we are the right vessel for whatever purpose they have. So maybe there is a path to follow, this destined path, this determined path. But maybe if you go off of it, go left hand style, because we talk about the right hand of Christ. Well, this is going left hand. This is going against the grain. But inside of going against that grain, maybe you can discover a new path. And the gods aren't going to be like, or let's just say the gods, to make it simple, they're not going to be like, oh, well, you're fucked. Let him do that, and then he'll go back. Maybe there's something that they're interested in what we can do. For instance, when you play a video game, you say, I want to see if I can break this game. Or I want to see if I can do, I'm going to play it again, but I'm going to make different choices and see what happens. Like, what if it's something along those lines? And I guess this is kind of my argument to free will, that we have the option to veer off the path. It doesn't always have to be negative, though.
How do you know you're veering off the path?
Personally, you feel it.
I know what you mean,
I can go
but
into it more if you need more of a something to go off
no,
of.
no, no. So when you feel that, if you had free will and you were going off the path, you wouldn't feel it. It would just, no, you just made a decision. Okay, not gonna, you're not gonna regret this. You're not gonna be like, come back and realize that, oh shit, I was doing this again. You know what I mean?
Well, I also kind of look at it as like wearing a seatbelt in your car. It's like you can do what you're supposed to do, but you can also not do it. And you do feel it when you don't wear your seatbelt. As in,
Uh-huh.
like when I'm driving a car, if I'm going 60 and I unclick that seatbelt, I'm a fucking feel, even if it doesn't physically, I'm gonna feel like, oh shit, like I'm doing something in my own hands. This feels intense to me. I'm gonna caveat that I've never done that. Going 60. But the thing I'm trying to say is I I can feel it just because for
You
me,
totally do, right?
I've done a lot. Um, for me, when I try to do something off this path, not even on purpose, it's not a purposeful decision. For me, it's as you okay. The example is you're like talking about like how hard this was for me to do this fucking one task of rate my life. I don't do it out of spite. I do it out of I don't get it. And sometimes
I know.
I veer off this shit because I don't understand, and all of a sudden I'm left in this. To me, you can feel it because it's a void. It's like, oh shit. And I don't mean in the sense of like physical void. It's something that I can't necessarily put words into. It's like I feel like I enter another realm of myself, and I veered away from okay, this was a path we were supposed to be on. This is something we were supposed to do, and now we're not. Like it can feel that way, but I gave
It's
the example of I was visited by a woman in a dream, and I made the example like one how I described her. One could say she was a Virgin Mary. If I believed that, I would be on that path of being a Christian and talking about how Virgin Mary visited me and I have to do X, Y, and Z. But instead, I looked at it and went like, I don't know what she is, and I kind of went over here and I abandoned. That was kind of the moment I truly abandoned modern religion and had to kind of find my own. So I didn't feel it in a biblical sense of like God came down with a light and said, make a choice, my son. It felt more like I didn't know what to do. I walked over here and all of a sudden I realized there's no lights on. Like you can feel it, but you're not. Now I can understand you can argue like, well, how do you know that that wasn't supposed to be a decision? And now you're in the after effects of it. I could, yeah, that's a very valid point. Honestly, I could understand that.
so like with that, it doesn't matter if you think it's the Virgin Mary or if you think it's the Bride of Frankenstein,
It
what have
does
you.
because it allows you to stay inside the lane of what that interprets.
It depends on like the only thing that would matter in that case would be what effect it has on you.
And that would
It could be
decide
something as
who you.
simple as it makes you pay attention to your dreams more and pay attention to what's going on
But
around
you
you.
put on a certain skin as you do that. You put on the eyes that
Yeah, you
are
can
how
do it
you.
however you want.
You're
Like
saying that
if
that.
I have to take a dump, I have two bathrooms. I could choose which bathroom to use.
Mhm.
It doesn't negate the fact that I have to use the bathroom.
It does if you have a certain bathroom that has a certain feel to it, though, because it enables you to feel the dump in a different way. I've explored that before. I have two bathrooms in my house. One bathroom, it feels better to take a shit in. The other one, it doesn't feel good at all because the seat's a little different, a little lower, or I can't access my, I don't, the certain
You
toilet
still,
paper I like.
Andre, you're still having to take a dump.
Yes, but you breathe in and out every
You're
day.
not choosing to, I'm going to choose to go to the bathroom now. It's like you could choose what you want to eat,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't negate the fact you have to eat something.
Yeah,
You don't
but
choose to be hungry.
that doesn't, you could say that about breathing. You breathe in, you got to breathe out eventually. Like, well, yeah, obviously, but I
You
don't
don't
think
choose to breathe either.
you do.
You don't sit there and go, hold on, wait. Oh, don't breathe out. Okay.
I think that if
You
you,
can, like meditation shit, but you don't choose to have your heart beating.
hmm,
You're not like kidneys, do your thing. Like what it just goes.
that you know of, I've had,
Exactly.
I have, can I tell you about my experiences of why I kind of doubt those?
In a second, because I think this might mesh with that.
Okay.
I was fascinated with how before I even clarified the rules of the assignment that I gave you yesterday, you tried to make a story out of it.
Uh huh.
As you said, you might have trouble remembering like 2015, 2016.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, really? You can't just remember like 10 years ago? He said, okay, well, that would be like the height, 2015, and then it would just count down from there. I'm like, no, that's what you do afterwards. You look at it objectively. But you were ready to make a story out of it.
Mm-hmm. I guess.
And then the individual years, you gave me a story for each one. Even the years you couldn't get out of that framework. And gave it a story, which is it's fine. Like it doesn't matter. Like
How does
in
one
the
rate
grand.
something if they can't remember it though?
Okay, so 2019, you can give it a 5 out of 10
But how do I know it wasn't a two?
because you can't remember it. So you
But
gave it a
but I
5.
remembered it when I
That's
was
that's
living
the
it.
rules.
But
That's the rules.
but you
You're
remember
my
living it.
classroom.
Okay.
Um, you get a 5 because obviously because if you can't remember it, there aren't strong emotions involved. So it wasn't really happy. It wasn't really sad. So you give it a 5 right in the middle. You're
Let's see
dead.
then. Yeah.
You're dead to it essentially now.
I guess. Yeah.
It's ultimate in the end with that chart. It's like 5. You're dead. It's the destination. But you don't just want to live at 5 and just nothing happens. Who wants to do that? But to get to 6, you have to go to 4. To get to 7, you got to get to 3, and so on and so forth.
But like, what if for me, like I said, for me, a lot of this was me having to ask other people what I was doing. Most of this was a lot of I could have made all this 5. I'm like, yeah, it's all 5. I don't know. How does one navigate that realm? Because again, for me, I took this as we were going to sit down and talk about these years and then give it a rating. Is how I interpreted what you were saying. So that's why I was like, well, if we're going to talk about it, I got to fucking remember these things. So I asked my wife to explain to me what we were doing, what I was doing, and went through pictures and shit. And for me, a lot of it I didn't remember. I totally forgot about. So that's kind of, that was the main reason why I went this route. I had someone to tell me what I was doing so I can kind of go, okay, I guess I got to rate
Which is
it.
good.
Right.
It's good that you did that.
But my point
too.
is I
Like,
didn't
that's
even,
doing it the right way. But and here's the thing, that's when I'm teaching that unit, it's about self-reflection, right? You do a lot of self-reflection. We're reading a memoir,
okay.
and when you just look at self-reflection on the surface, these kids are like, what the hell? I could be making money or making TikToks or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I know that feeling, like especially when you're 18 and stuff, you're ready to girls and cars and shit, and sports, and you're just rushing to the next thing. But when you actually self-reflect, you do two things. One, you get to know yourself better, and two, you get to predict the future
Really? How so?
and the present, really, because you can't really predict the future. You know, well, you see how things work. You see how you work. You're looking at yourself objectively, as objectively as you can,
Mm-hmm.
and through that, you can look at yourself sort of, in third person. That clears up everything. This is what I'm capable of. This is what I'm not capable of.
Well, I can say too, it's how you rate it because I'm looking at it. I gave a 10 to the a year that had the most deaths in. You know what I
Okay.
mean? But I
Fucking
gave,
psychopath.
but well, because I didn't think about those. I was like, yeah, they're deaths. What am I going to do? People die. But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in so 2017, that was the hardest year of my life. That was only a 2. You know what I mean? Like compared to a 1, which was the year before, like 2 years before that. My point
Yeah.
is, it's like it's how I let that negative inside of each year affect me. And in some sense, that was kind of my mindset of how I rated this. But in 2025, I've come to a different understanding about life and death and losing people and seeing the world in a new way. I could argue that 2025 was probably the hardest year I've had mentally in my entire life. But in some aspect, I'm like, yeah, but not really. I think that's actually a very positive thing where I've learned so much in this year. This year was the most trying year I've ever had. And I didn't I would like look back at those other years that I lost my child in, or like years I lost my girlfriend. I look at those years, I'm like, well, those were technically harder years, weren't they? I guess, but not really, because I look now and I feel deeper. I sense more. So I guess in some sense, as I'm exploring these, I could understand that you could see a curve to this. If you don't change who you are or discover who you are, then you'll have the same path. But if you change yourself as a human being, like your internal self, how you identify things, how you process things, you can change the way that curve acts. Even if it still happens the way it does, you can change the way you act. Now, that does fall
Yeah.
in line with what you're saying, well, what you said in the past about the sins and all that, because you change the way that they affect you. You gave the example of you're
Yeah.
not as lustful anymore, you're not as gluttonous, and this and that. That's kind of, it does play into what you're saying, that you can change it, but it's still happening. My I guess what I'm holding on to, how I define this as free will, is it's that very thing. It's you making the decision of how you feel when you sit in that damn toilet. You could say, well, I'm still shitting. Doesn't matter where I'm at. I could be squatting in front of a tree. I'm still shitting. Why does it matter where I'm doing it at? And I'm saying it matters a lot because it changes who you are before and after such a moment. Let me just explain this. If I say you shit in front of a tree, that's going to change the way I look at what's going on in your life, knowing where
Yeah.
you live, as opposed to you saying I shat in one toilet or the other. I think it's just the free will is born inside of the choices that you make. I mean, I wouldn't even argue that this is on rails. Like there's in video game terms, there's called on rails where you can't control where
Yeah.
the player moves. Yeah, so I wouldn't even argue it's that. I'd say that you have the ability to float away forever and get lost, and that could play into a lot of things. But go ahead.
I was on the job and like people that were just like so lost in life, and uh, I remember reading about this one kid who he died of an overdose, and it like I heard it come over the radio. It wasn't in my area, but I looked up the address in the database, like for the police reports, and I'm reading all about the all the bullshit and insanity that he put like his mom through, and he like robbed the place, and like she was in the car, and he like just stole her car. And I don't know. Um, because I also saw overdoses where like the parents would be happy,
Really?
and I'm not judging anybody for how they deal with that, but yeah, um,
Hmm.
it was crazy to see that, you know. But it's like it's such a nightmare living with somebody like that. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like okay, they went off the rails. There was one of two things was going to happen. Either they were going to get back on their own and kick the drugs and move on with their life and go back to the roller coaster,
Hmm.
or they were going to die. So you want free will, sure, but guess what? He's got to come back and try it again.
Or does he?
And he's probably going to have more karmic load than he had last time because of all the bullshit that he put his family through.
Hmm. There's a heavy implication that there is a reincarnation. And
Well,
I'm not contesting that at all. I'm just saying to someone else that might say, well, I don't believe that shit. So how would
okay,
you,
well,
no, just to broaden your argument,
yeah, no,
how would you try to,
I
how would you explain it to someone like that?
okay.
You're preaching to the choir with me, but
What came first, consciousness or matter?
me? Oh, I don't know. Either or, same time, not sure.
Which created what?
I hear the argument that consciousness came first. I've heard that a
Yeah,
lot, but I can't prove it. I
I
don't
mean
fucking know
it's the only way that it's possible
that we know of.
that we know. Yeah. How else could you do it?
Again, I'm totally on board with what you're saying. I guess
No.
you know, you don't have to have this
It,
part
it
put in here, but I'm just like saying, how can you
yeah.
say this in a way that we can get someone else that's like, I don't believe any of this shit, you guys. How could we reach that
Yeah.
person?
Go into your backyard, pick up two rocks, and smash them together, and keep going until you create life. There you go.
Action?
Hmm.
Is that for an action?
Okay, but I'm saying if that's what you, if you're saying that there's just matter floating around, that's how it always was,
Uh-huh.
and then consciousness arose from that,
Okay.
because that's what you'd be saying if you say that consciousness didn't come first. Then consciousness would have had to come from matter and grit and you know objects.
All right.
If that's true, go bash some rocks together in the backyard until you create life.
So it's 100% inferred in your mind that consciousness came first. And in saying consciousness came first, this is the idea that again, higher power was determining the outcome of this, we'll call realm, cosmos, or whatever. Is that the grand argument? So I understand you correctly. That's the grand
It doesn't
argument.
really have to do anything with a higher power.
Then why is there a point of determinization?
Determinism.
Determinism, whatever.
Yeah. Entertainment.
That's what you said last time.
Novelty.
That's what you said
Yeah.
last time.
Exactly.
Not for a higher being, though. Just fuck them. This is about people. Correct or not correct?
It could be for a higher being. It could just be for consciousness, which means us, the sun, the earth,
Does this play into
stars.
the aspect of God being within everything? Is that why it can be us?
Well, so when you say God, you could switch that out with like the grand consciousness
Sure, yeah,
or
whatever.
the ultimate consciousness
Whatever word.
or universe.
I guess I really want to know more about where you're coming from on this, is hence why I'm asking these questions, because I don't have any rebuttal to any of this. I'm definitely, I myself, I'm just like, whatever. I don't know. Determinization, right? Or free will. Don't give a fuck.
Determinism.
Yeah, man. Fuck. Take two.
It's okay.
Determinism or free will, I'm kind of like, personally, you know, I'm
You're
not,
a writer. You make up your own words, man.
I, I'm trying to stick towards the idea of free will, but again, from myself, I'm thinking this word is so limiting that as I'm trying to explain it to you, I feel like I'm explaining it to you and we're both sitting in a damn box. And I'm like, can we step out for a fucking minute? Because for me, this is going to sound so corny and no one likes to be this guy. And everyone's going to say, you're a fucking piece of shit for doing it. But I'm like, they both exist in my mind. Now, am I saying that I'm right? I don't even know what right means. So I don't know. But the way I exist, I'm like, yeah, what you're saying to me makes perfect sense. I can't argue against that because you sound convincing. But when I start talking about what I feel, which is in juxtaposition of what you're saying, I also feel like, yeah, sounds legit. Why not? Doesn't mean it's not wrong or right. And for me, it's like, as a human being sitting here listening to this conversation happen, I'm always like, yeah, but like, how can I ever know? Is what I'm the wall I hit. I know I'm supposed to take a stance and have a belief. Like, are you a leftist or are you a rightist? Are you this? Are you that? And this argument is either one or the other, is what most people will want. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm trying so hard, but at the same time, I'm listening. And you're like, hey, man, he sounds convincing. I'm going to go ahead and just agree with him, because that's my natural mode. Forgive me, you don't have to have any of this put in, but I'm trying so hard
Okay.
to
Yeah.
be the opposite. But at the same time, it's like, I can't know these things. Like I could never know this. And
Don't limit yourself with that, though. So, in a way, yeah, it is both because you can choose to eat pizza or a hamburger,
okay, yeah,
but you can't choose the fact that you have to eat to. I mean, I guess you could, right? You could just not eat
supposedly,
and then die,
supposedly.
but then you're gonna have to come back, and if you finish all your karmic shit and you're done, then it's like, okay, well,
Well,
you can choose to not eat and die. That's fine.
there's
You're done
earthly
anyway. So,
there's earthly examples that now I can't name off the top of my head when it comes to monks getting away from these things. I know I've heard of monks starving themselves for a long time and somehow not needing food. Whether that's a myth or real, I can't say. But
mhm.
I know that human beings are always trying to get out of this because what we're talking about here, this argument is cyclical in terms of we're inside the human condition. There is no way we can go, hold on, can we pause real quick? Let's just zoom out and really see, then we'll come back in and then we'll, keep playing the game. As far as we understand it, in our limited way of that example, we can't zoom out and just look real quick and see who's right. Right? We can only just say, well, he sounds convincing and so does this guy. Anyway, see you next time we talk about dicks. Like we can do that, but we can't really understand. That's what the next topic will be, by the way. And you can keep that. Now,
Quit doing that. Quit saying that.
penis. Now, for me, I guess how
Probably don't
I'm
get any viewers, Andre. The algorithm's like, oh,
pecker.
you wouldn't like it. They're talking about penises.
Well, the length matters. Now, so sorry, done. Um, in my estimation, it's as we are stuck inside the cyclical nature of this human condition. This could just be, as far as I'm concerned, another fucking trap of the mind. For instance, the reason I go there is as I write, I was talking to my mom and she's telling me about stories she likes to read. She likes this and that. And I'm like, yeah, for whatever reason, I'm really into labyrinth stuff. I love the story of Theseus. I love the House of Leaves. I love, in my second book I'm writing, it's a labyrinth part. I don't know what it is, but I just love the idea of being in a dark labyrinth or a deep forest or I don't know, something like that. And I know I'm not the only one, but I'm very I'm so inspired by it. And a labyrinth is different than a maze. A maze is just an illusion to kind of keep you going, which is kind of what I'm getting to. A maze is like, oh, fuck, this is a trick. A labyrinth is you're going to get to the end, but it's about how you get there. I'm not trying to, if you look at a picture of a labyrinth like the Greeks would have drawn, and you compare it to a maze of the 18th or 19th century in France, it's different. A maze is designed to trick you. A labyrinth is designed to get you to the center. And in terms of getting to the little eye, getting to that little point of yourself. Now, I'm inspired by that a lot more. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because as I look at topics, in this case, determinism and free will, if I'm looking at that, I'm saying that's a maze. I could go anywhere, but I'm not going to find the end of it. How can I look at this? And this is a druidic belief, looking at it ternary. How can I zoom out and see them here as this, oh gosh, like magnetism. There's a positive and there's a negative, and they need to be together. How can you get out of that and see this thing out ahead of you so you can grasp the whole concept of it? And in some sense, that's where I'm going, like, because it's both real in some sense. They're both, determinism does exist, but so does free will. But again, you have to get outside the box of what those mean in a Western sense to get to that point.
And that's what this exercise is all about.
Boom.
You, from having a narrative about your life and taking everything personally,
Yeah.
taking
You're
it
right.
outside of that box, looking at things objectively, assigning numbers, and then brings you back into that subjective space when you look at the line.
A repeated pattern because of how you feel. I want to add to this, and I'm very modern words here. What you're describing there is victim mentality. Is, oh, it's all going to happen to me. Every time this happens, that'll happen. And you create that in some sense. In some sense, I know shit can happen.
Yeah.
I think that's what it plays into is victimization. I look at my past
Safety
and
versus freedom. Yeah.
yes, exactly. I look at my past and I say, oh, wow, like, how many bad things happen to me? Look how bad it is. I can keep doing that and then I'll let it happen more and more. But my example was, why was 2025 the hardest year of my life, but it had the best rating? Because I'm not allowing that victim shit to hit me. And I'm breaking this cycle of the narrative of my own life. That plays into when you meet someone and you're like, hey, how's it going? And you're like, I had a flat tire. And then my boss was, blah, blah, blah. And then my work is hard. You get to the core of these people, you find out, hey, your work isn't as hard as you're making it out to be. You're being hard on yourself. You're determining the outcome of your own fucking life. That's where I kind of have this free will element of like, you can change that, whether it's on rails or not. Okay, whatever. But you can change the way you see your world. That will change the way you look at this thing and go ternary and say, my grandma was going to die. She was gonna die. It's not like, oh my God, like, did you hear that a woman died? Like, it just happens. My girlfriend, she passed away young. She was an alcoholic. Okay. That was gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, maybe not that way exactly, but I decided to see it that way.
I'll give you one that Amy, her son, died. He's a few months old. No health issues, nothing. It was a freak accident. The nanny that they had, she tucked him in wrong.
Really?
And he suffocated. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And I mean, there'll be some people that say, "How do you explain that?" Right?
Right. I could understand that.
And yeah, of course, like it's horrible. Wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
On you.
Let alone the woman that I love.
Yeah.
But and I sat with it. You could say I meditated on it, just kind of prayed on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like I didn't like have a session where I just sat down. It was just in general, so I knew how much it still upset her. And she said that the nanny she had researched, did all this research, found like the professional nanny with like zero history of anything bad happening, and she had been doing this for like 30 years and everything. Of course, it was with the nanny that you did all the research on. It wouldn't have been the one where you just haphazardly said, "Oh yeah, go ahead and watch the kid. Here's $20." And then she had a bad feeling that day too, and she was like, "Man, she was gonna." After she picked up some breakfast on the way to work, she's like, "Maybe I should go back. I don't know. I just had an uneasy feeling too." I'm like, But when I was sitting with it, it just came to me that he died for his sister, his older sister, because something really bad was going to happen if she grew up in the kind of environment that their relationship was creating at the time. When something's just planted in your head, kind of like what you're writing.
Yeah.
I got that, and it was like, whoa. And I told Amy, and she's like, because then she told me about all the stuff where like she had the weird feeling, and it's like, yeah, it's that because that was going to happen because he had this tension between these two people that was just creating a worse and worse environment, and it was only going one way.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like that was their choice in a sense to choose to stay like that as a relationship, to not figure out X, Y, and Z, what's going on, what's wrong, and because that was not figured out, something taken away. I experienced that with the loss of my own child, where me and my now wife, when we were going through that, we were fucking button heads. We weren't opening ourselves up to the other person. And because of that, kid's gone. Second kid gone too. And so we went apart for 8 months, around 8 months. I had to get her back in my life because I knew she was a woman I'm destined to be with. And so I went and, and we ended up fixing a lot of things, working on a relationship, communicating.
Even then, you didn't have a choice.
I didn't.
It was like, no, you have to go be back with her, pulling you back to the path.
Yeah, but it was my choice to take that, wasn't it? I could have been like,
Well, yeah, you could have made your life more difficult
exactly.
and gone the other way, but you would have felt that pull.
Mm-hmm. But my biggest argument to it, how do I know that I'm not the God making that decision? How do I know I'm not the one who's playing the video game, but also being played by it or through it, whatever? How do I know I'm not the character or the fucking player? I don't know that, but I do
It
know
depends on
something, and do
you
know
have to
some things
examine
about
things at the time
right, and I do
in
know
the
certain
present.
things about my consciousness, and I do know aspects of how it moves around in this world. How I can, okay, simple. I'll keep it really simple. How I can be talking with you, and I'm this person. This is who I am with you right now. I'm not like this when
Mhm.
I'm not around you. I'm a different person. I
Fucking
change.
phony.
I change the way I am depending on my environment, whatever is needed. You're not gonna do the same things at work that you do in front of your girlfriend, right? That's a very simple example.
Hope not.
Exactly,
Get
right?
fired.
That's what I'm. That's the point. This now that's not very a high idea. It's just like how we can look at it in a low setting. You can do that with your consciousness, and the way I feel when I'm doing my personal videos by myself, talking about I fucking don't know. I could say that's not fucking me because those words aren't mine. I don't know where they're coming from. It's like you were talking about with that feeling that you had while you were dwelling on that, or I forgot the word that you used, meditating. You're like, that doesn't really feel like it's me. It came to me, right? That's how I feel in those videos. But at the same time, when I get the very rare opportunity in history to listen to myself back, and when I listen to myself back, I'm like, yeah, those words aren't necessarily mine, but at the same time, they are filtering through my experience. They are relying on what I needed to know to come out. As in, my character, he needs to level up to certain points and get certain attributes higher. So when the channel flows through me, I'm able to express it better. Watch my first YouTube video, watch my last, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I opened myself up to that. They call that in Welsh awen. They don't necessarily believe in a god. It's a spiritual flowing that comes through you. The Greeks would call it the muses, depending on how you want to believe that. I think that consciousness can flow in that state as well, where we could say, like, is it a god? Is it a higher being? Is it you? It's every fucking thing. And I think that's what the one thing the Christians did get right. I made that example in the last video where it's like we look at God and we say, don't give him an explanation or give God because it limits him, even though we still say him. I don't know. But my point is,
Yeah.
we do that a lot. When we do that, when it comes to these things we're talking about here, this you analyzing, it's very morbid, the death of that innocent child, me looking at the death of my children. You had gone through similar experiences too. We could sit there and be like, it was taken away for a reason. Or we could say, it's not my decision to decide whether things happen or not in the sense of who's taken and who stays. I can't decide I want Mike to live 50 more years. That's
You're
not my
still saying that,
decision.
and I'm not saying it's your decision,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's not your decision, then it happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could say, no, everything's random, and then just live life,
Oh, of course, yeah.
blindfolded.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, like, I don't know if we have free will. That's why I picked this question.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I don't think then, like you said, it's cyclical. We
Yeah,
may
it's
not have the capability as humans to ever actually know that for sure.
right.
It doesn't mean that you don't investigate it.
Yeah, like what we're doing here.
It's like you know that you're not going to win the game, but you may as well learn the rules so you can enjoy it.
Right. I don't disagree.
Cool. Good talk.
See you guys. No, I
Yeah.
definitely, I don't care about other people. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a river dancer. Yeah, I
No.
don't fucking care. The Lord of the Dance is the Lord of Sex. I don't give a shit.
Like
Yeah.
you got the feeling when you sent me the picture last night.
I feel like we're both kind of dancing around this.
If something arises,
I am not that person anymore.
just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
It's cathartic. They call that catharsis. Going in
Ew.
and kind of pulling from it.
I don't really want to relive it again.
The image is about the same. It's so perfect of my fucking penis.
I made like one official, maybe two.
I'm gonna do it. I want to do it hard. Like,
There's no like right or wrong way to do it.
No.
I was drunk for about half of it. I'll do it just to see. I'll look at this one that I have.
Veils lifted.
I have to get this out now.
My God.
and just zoomed in. So
That was amazing, dude. That made my day. It made me really emotional from back to front. It's so sweet. I was really jealous of that. It's funny.
like, yeah, it's still funny.
As long as it's funny. I'm gonna send you, this one can be off the record. I kept making these Snapchats more and more disgusting over the time, and I just had so much.
Disturbing.
You can hear my wife in the background groaning, like, I'll send you
Yeah.
one of those if you want to put that in or use it at some later point.
Yeah, I can work with it.
Whatever you want.
The one that you sent me, you never really explained anything. You just, I
No.
think you sent it over the group text, and I'm like,
No
what the
explanation.
fuck is this?
Yes. That's a compliment for me. Is it pointless? Someone might say so. Is it not pointless? Someone else might say so. But like,
You laughing at something funny, huh?
I am 1% Nigerian, so that's not true.
Damn it.